everyone. Thank you for joining and welcome to part one of the three-part Distressed Projects webinar series. Today, Vertex's CEO, Bill McConnell, will be presenting on the state of the construction industry. He is a co-founder and the CEO of the Vertex Companies, a 700-person AEC firm that has offices throughout North America. Bill has been issuing his State of the Industry report for the past 17 years and will be sharing the highlights from his most recent study today. Following Bill's presentation, we'll have a panel discussion with Doug Russell, John Lemieux, and Thad Schatz. They will review the supply chain and labor shortage challenges and provide insight on how to proactively mitigate and manage risk factors.
I'd like to talk about the state of the U.S. construction industry today. We are in a very, very interesting time, a very choppy environment, and I'm going to go through typically we're going to first start with how economic cycles impact contractors. So with that, we generally have recessions once every 8 years or so. And what happens is we have labor escalation, material escalation, that causes the Fed funds rate to increase, that causes GDP to slow, and then we enter a recessionary period, and then we go into an early expansion, mid-expansion, then late expansion period. Now, contractors fail, generally speaking, between recessions and early expansion periods. So let's get into construction data. As you can see, this has been quite a bull run for the past 10 years. As I was speaking, those early expansion years, you see how work still trends downward through those years, and then it turns, and here's where the recession ceased. So you have these early expansion years where these are the real problem years, but you can see once you get through those years, you get into the mid-expansion and then late expansion, and you have these kind of go-go years, and then you have these choppy years. And as you can see here, year over year change in construction spending goes downward through those early expansion years, and then it comes up during the middle years, and then that year over year trends downward late cycle. When we look at the latest data, it's a $1.8 trillion sector. It's up, as of January, it's up nearly 6% year over year. It was more or less flat month over month, but take a look at this right there. These two items. Residential construction for the first time is pulling back, as we saw, and it's down 4%. 4% of what, 800 or 900 is a good amount. That's 30-40 billion dollars right there. It's pulling back. We all know that inflation has hit the construction industry abnormally when compared to other sectors. This is ENR. You can see this goes back to the 90s. This building cost index of 14%. We've never seen anything like it since they've been maintaining this indicator. And why is this all happening? Let's take a quick look at macroeconomic data. Well, we see these 8 rate hikes, and it looks like we might be going to 6. Producer price index for construction materials. This is construction inflation. I mean, this goes back to the 40s, and look at this slope. It's fairly, common, especially out from the 70s on, fairly consistent slope. And then we get to 2020 and it goes up like crazy.
What strategies are you seeing with your public sector owners that you represent? What are they doing to mitigate future supply chain issues?
Thanks, Doug. Whether it's a public project or a private project, we're all trying to buy the same materials, right? So at the end of the day, the supply chain, it doesn't matter really who your clients are. It's an issue. I guess one of the biggest impacts that we've had to our projects, depends a little bit on delivery method, right? So if we're talking about the traditional design, bid, build, design it 100%, get a bid, and then, go to build it. What we're having to do is build in procurement periods into the contract durations, such that, if a standard build was going to be 16 months, we're actually writing the contract for 18, 19, 20 months to give a 2 to 4 month procurement buffer.
Thad, you and I talked about kind of workarounds, what owners and developers are trying to do is workarounds to some of these supply chain issues. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about strategies that the developers and owners are doing to try to work around some of these issues.
What we're seeing is with some of the developers and owners a little bit, and some of the more sophisticated ones who have a little bit more hands-on, basically take a little bit more ownership of that process.